Ladies and gentlemen, the courts in India, the government, the law panel, and parents of adolescent children have been faced with a dilemma and a question. Should the age of consent under the POCSO Act, which is the Child's Right Act, be lowered from 18 to 16? Many had asked for this to happen because POCSO criminalizes teenage love. Under the Act, even consensual sex is deemed rape, a crime for which a boy can be jailed and worse. Now, very often, this clause is used as a tool to enforce the will of parents of young women in relationships that are not approved by their families. You found out that your 16-year-old or 17-year-old daughter has fallen in love and eloped with someone. It's consensual. Yet the POCSO Act gives you the power to drag the boy to the police station and subject him to the wrath of the criminal justice system. Is it fair? Now, courts across the country are flooded with such cases. Judges have asked for the age of consent to be lowered to 16 because POCSO has become a tool to penalize teenage love. In fact, there is data telling us that. There are 3 studies that were conducted between 2018 and 2022. And these studies were based on all cases that came to the court, POCSO cases that came to the court. In these 3 studies, it has been found that in 18 to 25% cases registered under the POCSO Act, the victim and the accused were romantically involved or in a consensual sexual relationship. So, what should we do? Should India lower the age of consent from 18 to 16? After all, till 2012, in India, the age of consent was 16. It was only in 2012 that it was increased to 18. A point was also made that the age of consent and the age of marriage have to be different. Also, does the POCSO Act violate some fundamental rights that the Constitution gives every citizen in this country, like the right to privacy, like the right to sexual and bodily autonomy? Now, the law panel deliberated all these questions, and it took the views of stakeholders, including the government. The government was very clear about not lowering the age of consent. They feel that it protects young women under the age of 18, so the age of consent should not be lowered. Today, ladies and gentlemen, the law panel has finalized its report. And our sources are saying that the law panel has decided that the age of consent remains the same, which is 18. And the panel says that judges will have the discretion to decide each case on its merit. It's a debate that has been ongoing for a while now. There are 2 sides to that debate. Lalitha Kumaramangalam is a former NCW chairperson. She is joining us on the broadcast. We have Abha Singh, who is a lawyer, who will be joining us in just a bit as well. Lalitha Kumaramangalam, you have argued that the age of consent should not be lowered. I want to ask you, and this is something that the law panel has now decided. They have finalized their report. It will be made official in a day or 2. I want to ask you, how is it fair on a boy or his parents if the young man is in love with a young woman, has a consensual sexual relationship with her, which her parents don't approve of? The entire wrath and might of the Indian legal system that falls on this young man and his parents. How is consensual sex being equated to rape under POCSO?
Look, we are talking, or rather, you are now alluding to the more often than not, young, fairly educated, urban girl who does not think that having sex with a man before marriage is a sin. I'm stating facts. I'm not stating my personal opinion. In this, it is not about what I would wish my daughter or my granddaughters who come from an extremely privileged class of women in India, like you and me, where we earn, we are educated, and we will not be smeared with an extremely nasty, or all the very nasty names that are called that young girls are called by if they're found to have had sex before marriage, which according to me personally, I think is wrong. But it is a fact that this country is still way too patriarchal for the good of most of women in this country. My opinion is colored or is bolstered by the fact that between the ages of 16 and 18, I am afraid too many young girls who romanticize the whole idea about love and sex and marriage may well get cheated into thinking that I'm in love with this boy. So what if I have sex with him? He will marry me. And this is not always the case. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong on the part of the boy either. I'm saying I'm not passing a qualitative or a judgmental comment here. I'm saying this is how reality is, even in India, or not even, especially in India today, even in urban areas. Most families, regardless of caste, creed, politics, etc., and all of that, are still extremely patriarchal in their outlook towards their young girls. One. And two, we don't teach our children that sex and marriage are not the most important thing, especially our young girls. Let me finish. I'll just give you one more reason. And
no,
then
can I just cross question you on something that you have said? You're saying it's not fair. You're saying it's not fair. Lalita ji, you're saying it's not fair on the young man either, right? You're saying this, that if he's in a consensual relationship with a young woman, it's not fair on the young man either. So why should the act penalize him? Because the act only penalizes him. And it does.
Look,
the courts are flooded. The courts in India are flooded with these cases.
The courts of India are flooded with many more cases where young girls have been taken advantage of, to put it very mildly. Like I said, most young women in this country still romanticize the idea of love and sex and marriage. Our girls are brainwashed from the time they're born, probably in the womb itself, that marriage is the be-all and end-all, and having a relationship with a man is the be-all and end-all of a young girl's wife, of a young girl's life. Sorry, not wife. That was a Freudian mistake. Even today, unfortunately, I don't agree with it, but that is reality even today in India. Now, if there is a consensual relationship and the boy is able to prove that he was wrong, I agree. There should be also a penalty levied on the girl and her parents. That amendment should be there. But to say that we will lower the age from 18 to 16 is, I think, India is not ready for it yet. It is our girls who will eventually pay the price for it.
Okay.
The other reason that I'm saying this for is that we don't teach our children about either responsible sex, teenage sex, or whatever you want to call it, or that we don't give them any sort of sex education in school. There's no question of contraception. There's no question of teaching them that, there has to be a certain amount of hygiene, even in things like this. All of this is just left out of the narrative in our country. In the biggest of schools or the best of schools, except perhaps maybe a handful, we don't talk about sex education to both our girls and boys, which we should. We don't even talk about periods to our girls in schools, for God's sake, or rather the majority of schools.
Okay, fair point. Let's get the other point of in as well. Lalita ji, let's get the other point of view in as well. Lalita ji, I think you've made your point. You're saying India is not ready, but India's the age of consent in India till 2012 was 16. I think many of us forget that, but you're saying India is not ready because since girls are born, they have somehow romanticized the idea of marriage and they are often misled. Abba Singh, you're on the opposite side of the debate. The argument that comes in from people who say that the age of consent should not be lowered is simply this, that POCSO protects young women, which is exactly what they need in a country like ours. So why challenge it?
One thing what you say that POCSO protects young women, in what sense? Whoever be any age, if he violates a law of the land, would be penalized, would be punished. But this is a very different issue. Age of consent, if it was 16, during the earlier days when I think the society was not so permissive, we were not so progressive, girls were not experimenting sex, that time 16 and today you're making it 18. It's absolutely regressive because let me tell you, girls are, and these are not my figures, these are reports from National Family and Health Survey figures, these are reports from a study which was done in the Dindoshi court in Bombay High Court, that the first sexual encounter of girls is more or less starting at the age of 15. So a girl who's sexually active from 15, 16, how can you make it an offense when it is consensual? In fact, this study which was done in Mumbai in Dindoshi court, it found that 52% of these POSCO cases where you have criminalized this sex, they were consensual, there was a tacit approval, the girl only had initiated it. So what do you do? Young romance, which you are calling Romeo Juliet romance or tender age romance, here you are turning these young boys as rapists. You know, I have gone to the Dongri remand home where I have taken up children cases, and let me tell you how these children are treated. They have eloped with the girl they love, the both and girl consensually elope, and later on the girl, under the pressure because she's a minor, under her parents' influence, goes hostile, and in 48% of the cases it is the father who lodges the FIR. In 41% of the cases, it is the girl's mother who is the victim under POSCO. She files an FIR. So it's the parents' pressure which makes a girl go hostile. And in some cases, these kids have married. And in fact, there was this case recently which Allahabad High Court also looked into. Delhi High Court, there was a case where they've got married and there's a child. And then you call the father of the child a rapist because he has eloped or had a relationship, a love affair with the girl who's under 18. What do you do in such cases? And let me tell you, when these school kids who are 19, 20, who have had an affair with a girl who's under 18, who've fallen in love, I would say, why affair? I would say fallen in love with her or have had an affair, and then you term them rapists and you arrest them and send them to remand homes. Let me tell you, they are brutally raped, they are sodomized, they are given a tag of a rapist. It's so inhuman, it violates their Article 21 right to life, because just what was their offense? What was the crime? That they fell in love in school, they had a relationship with a girl. So what do you do in a permissive society today? I think Justice Chandrachud, the Chief Justice, is very right when he says you need to look into this. In fact, Justice Verma Commission also said that it should be age of consent should be 16, not 18. We need to go into it and ensure that these tender lives of our boys are not destroyed like this.
Okay, I think both of you have made your points of view known, so thank you very much. This is a debate that has been ongoing in this country for the last 3 to 4 years, and both sides will argue for and against it. For the moment, the law panel, it seems, has made up its mind. It has finalized its report, and the law panel is very clear in the stand it is taking. It is saying that the age of consent under the POCSO Act will not be lowered to 16. It will remain at 18. Ladies, thank you very much for joining us. With that, I'm slipping to a very quick break on the show. There's much more coming up on the other side. Do stay with us.